Alright guys, hello, welcome back. This is the next part of the video. So I went ahead and made a family tree for the horses, which is pretty cool. I wanted to show you guys this and to show you how all the horses are related to each other. I made a family tree for them. So the center is Manowar. We could show you how all these racehorses are related to each other. Now it's actually really interesting because you can see all of Manowar's descendants and the people he descends from, the horses. So, as I said before, he comes down from a long line of racehorses. So we're going to start with Manowar here. So if you click on Manowar, you can see the information. He was born on March 29th, 1917 in Lexington, Fayette County, Kentucky, which is where I just was earlier today. I'm actually back home now. I've been driving all day. Just got back home from Lexington. But fairly far from Lexington. And he dies on November 1st, 1947, also in Lexington. So he was born in Lexington and died in Lexington. Again, he's alive for about 30 years. Obviously, he races in two seasons, the 1919 and 1920 seasons, which is pretty cool. I mean, and then in 1921 he retires, and then Manowar, he retires in 1921 and then is bred several times. He actually has a total of 8 offsprings on this chart that he had, because they tried to carry his genes down. But only the successful horses bred down. Because you see Hardtack and Admiral here, which are actually good. They bred them down more. So right here you have Manowar, of course. Manowar actually had a brother named Mad Hatter right here. He wasn't as good, and I don't think he's buried there, but he was born in 1916, so he was a year older than Manowar. And he passed away in 1935 at the age of 19. So Manowar did have an older brother named Mad Hatter. So let's start with Manowar's descendants before we get to his parent. So Manowar has a total of 8 direct children right here. So the first one, his eldest child is Crusader. I believe these are all male. I don't think they race female horses. I could be wrong. I don't know if they do or not. I was able to find pictures of all of these except for War Hazard. I could not find a picture, so I just used his grave there. But Crusader right here. Crusader was the eldest child of Manowar. He was born in 1923, as you can see. I don't know where he's. I don't think he's buried there at the race at the Kentucky Horse Park, because I didn't see him. He was born in Kentucky in 1923, as you can see. So Manowar had him just 2 years after he retired. So Manowar at the time was only 6 when he had Crusader, and Crusader lived until 1940, so he lived to be about 17. Manowar actually ended up outliving Crusader. Actually, now that I think about it, Manowar actually ended up outliving most of his. Well, only one. Crusader was the only one that he, I think, outlived. But again, he died on the 4th of May, 1940 in California. So at some point, Crusader got moved to California. Maybe he's buried out in California. Wouldn't be surprised, because horses get shipped quite frequently. Crusader was not a too extremely successful racehorse, so they did not breed him down. What am I doing? Help. I don't know what I just did. View tree. I don't know what I just did. Help! I want to get back to the tree. Okay, thank you. I did not mean to do that. So Crusader was not a very successful horse. I mean, he was okay, but being Manowar's son, they could have done better. So he didn't breed him down again. And again, they only bred these successful ones, which is why Manowar, I don't think, has any living descendants. Sadly. Maybe some of you can let us know in the comments if he has any more living descendants. So then Manowar's second son was Horse Bateau, right here, who was born in 1925, just 2 years after Crusader. Manowar was about 8 years old when Horse Bateau was born. And again, he was born in 1925, and they actually don't know when he died. However, he did not have any kids, so his line ends there. So Manowar's first 2 sons were not too good. However, Manowar's third son, Hardtack, was actually a pretty successful racehorse. Obviously not as successful as Manowar himself, no one's going to beat Manowar. Manowar was the most successful, arguably the most successful horse of all time. So Hardtack was the third child. He was born in 1926, the same year as Queen Elizabeth II, and he was a year younger than Horse Bateau and 3 years younger than him. Manowar was about 9 years old when he had Hardtack. So Hardtack was born in 1926. Dies on September 21st, 1947. So he actually Manowar actually ends up outliving Hardtack by a couple of months, which is interesting. So then Hardtack, again, I don't know where he's buried. It doesn't say where he dies. I didn't put that in there. But Hardtack, sadly, he's not buried there, which was that was probably his second best son next to War Admiral. So then you get the fourth son, Battleship. Now, Battleship is a freaking meaty horse. I mean, you can see right there. He was born on the 19th of March, 1927 in Kentucky and died in 1958. So he actually ended up outliving his father by about 11 years, the longest surviving then. Manowar was about 10 when he had Battleship. So at this point, he was having them about every year, because he had Bateau in 1925, Hardtack in 1926, and Battleship in 1927. But then he waited a few years, and the fifth son was War Admiral. He was born in 1934. He was born on May 2nd, 1934 in Lexington, Kentucky, and died on the 30th of October, 1959 in Lexington. So, again, War Admiral, probably his most successful offspring was War Admiral. So it actually took him, by this time, Manowar was actually he was 17 when he had War Admiral, so he was getting older there, especially because it took him 7 years between Battleship and War Admiral. Then you get the sixth child, War Hazard, which I sadly couldn't find a picture of, so I decided to use his grave. But he was born in 1938 and died in 1944. Again, he only lived to be 6. That was the youngest one out of his offsprings that didn't live very long. Again, Manowar ended up outliving 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. He actually ended up outliving 4 of half of his children. He actually outlived. That's how healthy and in good of a shape Manowar was. For outliving 4 of his offsprings, and especially one of his most successful one, Hardtack. So then you get the seventh child, War Relic. War Relic was born on the 18th of March, 1938. And died on April 1st, 1963 in Kentucky. So he was the last surviving of his first generation. 1963 down here is when he died. Again, he was actually born the same year as him. He was actually a little bit older than War Hazard. War Hazard was born on April 5th, and he was born on March 18th. So War Hazard and War Relic were very close in age. So he had 2 children in 1938. Obviously, War Relic and War Hazard are all buried at the horse park. Same with War Admiral. And the 8th son is War Kilt. Also born on March 15th, 1943 in Fayette County. And died in 1956. So all of these 4, War Admiral, War Hazard, War Relic, and War Kilt, are all buried in the horse park right by Manowar. I don't know about these guys. I don't really know where they're buried. Crusader is probably buried in California, if I had to guess. But the funny thing to note is a lot of these horses were born around the same time of the year, all in the spring. May 2nd, April 5th, March 18th, March 15th, March 19th, and let's see here. So yeah, they were all born around the same time. War Kilt, War Relic, and War Admiral Battleship are all around the same time of year. March 15th, March 18th, March 19th. Then you got War Hazard born on April 5th, and then War Admiral born in May. So they're all born around the springtime, which is an interesting thing to note. So out of Manowar's 8 children, only 2 of them actually went on to produce children, which were Hardtack and War Admiral, one of the 2 best ones. Crusader, Horse Bateau, Battleship, War Hazard, War Relic, and War Kilt did not have any kids. War Relic is surprising because War Relic was actually a good horse, but he never really had any substantial. He probably had kids, but none of them really did anything. which is kind of surprising because War Relic actually wasn't too bad of a horse. So let's go down Hardtack's line first. So now we're getting to Manowar's grandchildren, which he only has a few of. As you can see here, he's got, well, let's see if he's got any grandchildren over here too. War Admiral ended up having 1, so he's got a total of 3 grandchildren, Manowar, which are Grog, Seabiscuit, and Busher. Hardtack had 2 sons, and War Admiral had 1. War Admiral's only child was Busher, born in 1942 and died in 1955. So he only lived to be 13. So yeah. Interesting to note. So Busher wasn't too good of a horse for being War Admiral's son, so they didn't breed Busher down anymore. Hardtack's eldest child was Grog, who was born in 1933 and died in 1950. Grog was the older brother of the famous Seabiscuit racehorse. Grog eventually was put to California, and that's probably where he's buried. And Seabiscuit over here was also in California. Seabiscuit's the guy they made the movie about. He was born on May 23rd, 1933 in Lexington. So he was originally born in Kentucky and then died in Mendocino County, California on May 17th, 1947. So an interesting thing to note is not only did Manowar outlive Hardtack, Manowar actually ended up outliving Seabiscuit as well. Another thing a lot of people don't know is that War Admiral was actually younger than Seabiscuit, because it's kind of weird because in the movie Seabiscuit, War Admiral is portrayed to be this huge, old, powerful horse that's like much larger than Seabiscuit, but in reality, War Admiral was actually a year younger than Seabiscuit. Seabiscuit was older than War Admiral, which I don't think they really make that clear in the movie, which they should, but I know they wanted to make War Admiral seem like this huge horse. But if you watch videos online about the real race, Seabiscuit and War Admiral were about the same size. I think they just did that in the movie to make it seem like it was more of like a, because Seabiscuit's the main protagonist. Again, it's more than that. Another interesting thing, though, this entire line all died in 1947, which is weird. Manowar died the same year as Hardtack and Seabiscuit, which is actually interesting. Manowar has 2 great-grandchildren. Since Seabiscuit was such a successful horse, they bred him down even further, and he ended up having 2 kids that actually had note. Sea Sovereign and Sea Swallow. Both of them were not very good racers. Sea Sovereign was born in 1942, and so was Sea Swallow. None of their death dates are known. Those are both of Manowar's great-grandchildren. So, in total, Manowar has got 8, 11, 12, 13. He's got 13 descendants. I don't think he has any descendants to the modern day. Maybe some of you guys can let us know in the comments if that was. So now we're going to go up his line here, and you can see. So Seabiscuit and War Admiral, again, they were actually uncle and nephew in the race there. Let's go down here. So you get Manowar. Let's go up his line now. You actually can see who he descends from. So let's start with the paternal side. So his father was a horse named Fair Play. Fair Play, again, born about the same time of the year, the 1st of April, 1905. So he was 12 years older than Manowar, and he died on the 19th of December, 1929, in Kentucky. Fair Play was a great horse, a great racehorse, one of the better ones out there. And Manowar obviously carried down the genes because he comes from a long line of them. And then, you get those. But Fair Play is actually buried near Lexington, just outside Lexington. I wanted to go to his grave today and show it in the video, but I never got the chance to go. I really want to go back and see Fair Play's grave because it's very similar to Manowar's. They got the statue and stuff. And then his spouse was Mahuba, who was actually a female horse. She was born in 1910 and died in 1931, and they both bred and had Manowar and Mad Hat. So that's cool. So let's follow up the paternal side first. So Fair Play's father is a guy named Hastings, another very old racehorse, born on February 5th, 1893, and died in 1917. He died the same year as Manowar. Manowar died, he died a few months after Manowar was born. So he actually was old enough to have witnessed Manowar's birth. So that's kind of cool. So that's Manowar's paternal grandfather. His paternal grandmother was Fairy Gold, who was actually European. She was born in 1886 in England and died in Lexington, Kentucky in 1919, which is interesting to note as well. So both of Manowar's grandparents were actually still alive when he was born, which is interesting. His maternal grandfather was not, though. So that's kind of cool. Hastings again, and Hastings, I guess he's like another one of those Kentucky horses. Again, he's born in 1893, but we can actually go up Hastings' line even further and reach Spendthrift. Now, Spendthrift would be Manowar's great-grandfather. He was born all the way back in 1876 and died on October 21st, 1900. So he actually died quite 17 years before Manowar. So this is Manowar's great-grandfather. Sadly, I could not find out who his parents were. I guess you could do that, but so if we go down all the way to Manowar's great-grandchildren, that would be their first great, second great, third great, fourth great. This is like Sea Swallow and Sea Sovereign. This is their fourth great-grandfather. So you get this whole line down up here. Now I don't know if he has any living descendants either. I guess we could find that out sometime too. His spouse was a horse named Cinderella. Cinderella was also she was from England, born in 1885, and died in 1906 in Kentucky. They were the parents of Hastings. And Hastings obviously breeds with Fairy Gold and has Fair Play, and then Fairbear breeds with Mahuba and has Manowar. It's not actually known who Manowar bred with. I'm assuming he probably bred with multiple mates. He probably had multiple mates, which is why there's not a set one there for all these guys, all of his descendants, because he had a lot of descendants there. So then you get Fairy Gold. We can get on, which is Manowar's paternal grandmother. I could not find a photo of her or her grave. I don't think she has a grave actually. But her father was a guy named Ben Orr, this horse here. Was born in 1877 in Cheshire, England. Cheshire. I am pretty familiar with that place in England. I have a few ancestors from there, and he died in 1903. So that would have been Manowar's great-grandfather on that side. Again, couldn't find any of his grandparents. So now we're going to go over to Manowar's maternal line, his mother's side. Mahuba, I couldn't find her mother, but her father was Roxanne, a European horse. Remember how I mentioned that Mahuba was born in Europe? She was born in England. Roxanne was actually born in 1900 in England and actually was shipped to France and died there in July of 1914 in France, which is interesting to say. July 1940, I think that's when World War I started, so he actually was born shortly before that happened. His father was Sainfoin, who's another racehorse, another European racehorse who was born in 1887 and died in October of 1911. The last, I was able to actually find one of Manowar's great-great-grandparents. Springfield right here. This was Manowar, the farthest I was able to go up so far. Manowar's second great-grandfather up here, Springfield. He was also from Europe. He was born all the way back in 1873 and died on March 31st, 1898. So I think that's the farthest. I don't think I find his parents. Actually, no, I did find his father, St. Albans. So this is Manowar's third great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather, St. Albans. He was born all the way back in England in 1857, a very old racehorse. So, like I said, Manowar comes down from a long line of these. I couldn't find his parents, though. So you can get all the way down here, all the way down the line of Manowar, and see all of his descendants and all this stuff. So just wanted to show you that family tree there, and I thought that was interesting to show Manowar's all of his heritage that he comes from. And yeah, so with that, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Be sure to smash the like button. Goodbye.